I'm a leadership coach and I work from an ontological perspective. When I first heard of the Being Profile, it was through a webinar that the ICF, the International Coach Federation, was running. And this coach was talking about this profiling tool that was based on ontology, and my ears immediately pricked up because I hadn't heard of something like that before.
So, the Being Profile, what is it? People ask me, tell me more about the Being Profile. Well, the first question I ask them is, what is being?
When you first see the Being Profile, you might be tempted to think, oh, this is just another personality profile or behaviour profile. And I've worked with lots of those. I've worked with capability frameworks in government. I've run assessment centres. I've done personality profiles and values profiles and behavioural profiles. And the Being Profile is actually different.
What coaching looks like without the Being Profile, it can be a stab in the dark. The client can say, look, I've got these issues that I want to work on. And so we're working on all of those things that they say, but then there's all of this underlying stuff that we don't know about. And the Being Profile just goes straight to that.
As a psychologist, I know there's masses of models out there and frameworks around personality types. And what I've always found that they take you to the behavior and they say, if you change this behavior, then you're going to get these results. And I've never bought into that, because I think that transformation needs to go deeper. The Being Profile has given me that. It's given me a conversation around who you need to be and doesn't put you in a box. There's no morality, good or bad behaviors. There's no right or wrong. It's just a photograph of who you are being today. From that awareness, it's okay, who do you want to be? What are the things that aren't working for you today? And if you made an effort to address and to shift, what would be the impact in your life?
I've looked a little further into what is a way of being, and what I've discovered for myself is a way of being is a combination of different things. It's thoughts and thought processes, it's physical sensations, it's feelings and emotions, it's my state of mind or mood. It's a combination of all of these things that actually is my way of being. And what's really interesting about that is that any one of those particular things that I just mentioned, the more prevalent that particular area is, tends to be the thing that drives people's behaviour.
Being is actually really, really important, but it's often forgotten. For example, we can go and get training around like how to communicate better, but who we are being in those conversations when we communicate actually is much more important than simply knowing about how to communicate. So the Being Profile was developed by a group out in Sydney called Genesis, and they've developed this profile. It's an ontological tool. It examines ways of being that are essential for success, and particularly in areas relating to leadership.
My thing is never to become a HR guy who sits in a side office that's just dealing with people when there's a problem. What we want to do is try to ensure that the problems don't occur, because we're coaching people all the time, we're being with people all the time, we're valuing people all the time.
Every result has its basis in an action, and that action is natural because it's correlated to who you're being. What the Being Profile allows us to do is look at who you're being now and map where you want to go and how to get there, but not from what to do, but from who you're being.
One of the consequences or achievement that I got from the ways of being is peace of mind. I have so much rest and peace in me.
Often people get quite exhausted trying to make a difference and not really understanding where they're not being effective. And I was one of those people as well. What I really got out of doing the profile is the speed of transformation for people.
For me, Being Profile is about getting results faster. And I'm all about efficiency, not only in my own life, but also for my clients. Why should they come and spend 10 sessions with me when we could get to the heart of the issue within 1, maybe 2 sessions, because we have the results right there on a piece of paper.
The one thing that really surprised me with the Being Profile was the precision. People do use it almost like a diagnostic tool, and it tells you precisely where to look. So you don't really have to spend so much time finding the areas that a coachee wants to be coached on.
I think that the profile provides a really nice foundation of an individual and a different level of self-awareness than you're able to get without using a profile. It's not about the numbers being good or bad. There's just magic in the awareness of actually being able to have the data behind you. I think previously I had been very much focused on using behavioural profiles and psychometric tools, and they were great, but then there was an element that was missing from them.
One of the ways of being is being vulnerable. Before I did the Being Profile, I would not be vulnerable. I would just not go there. I would not allow anyone to be vulnerable around me. I would resist it at every point. What's happened is I've really had a chance to examine what vulnerability is for me. And when I've looked at it and have taken out what I conflated with shame or anxiety or guilt, I can be and say anything.
With my interest in ontology, I'm a firm believer that context is everything in what I do and how I work. I'm a very process-driven person, and I live through my life in efficiency, and it's always do this, do that. And sometimes I can drain myself in a lot of doings, and I just find that I'm like a working bee but with nowhere to go. And having been exposed to ontology and look at who I'm being or the context that's driving my behavior, it allows me to, pause, stop, rethink, plan, and actually make my actions a lot more meaningful than just a hamster in a wheel churning through life. And that's not what I'm committed to.
There is a way of being that is associated with every result. The results that you are enjoying in your life now are a result of the way you are being. The results that you want out of life are the result of another way of being, and there is a gap between the two. That describes the journey from where you are now to where you want to be. The Being Profile is an amazing tool to give you a very clear perspective of the health of your relationship with various set aspects of ways of being, so you can get a very clear picture of where your starting point is.
When I did the Being Profile, I was really excited to see what this was about, this Being Profile. I discovered through doing the Being Profile that I had a lack of assertiveness around making requests with my staff, with my students.
Well, what's really great about the Being Profile is it gives you a complete holistic snapshot about your world. How is your world actually evolving around you? And also, how is your world shaped by your own way of being? What is really different in the way the Being Profile supports and empowers a coach and a coachee is that it goes right down into the core of what it means to be, as in be a human being.
My favourite part of the Being Profile is the aha moments. May it be with myself as a coach or my coachee, just discovering things that you weren't aware of, that you never thought before, and just little things about forgiveness and authenticity and vulnerability is something that's really made a difference in my life and my coachee's life.
The philosophy that has gone into the Being Profile is quite incredible, really. It's thousands of years of philosophy that have gone into generating all the details that in Genesis have now formed into the Being Profile.
So when I tell people about the Being Profile, I explain to them that it's like taking a health test. Or say you go for a checkup on a heart test, and you find out that you have a couple of arteries that are clogged. I mean, won't you go and do something about it? Absolutely you will. And so when you're doing the Being Profile and you find out that your ways of being are at a low in some areas and your ways of being are here at the higher level, you would want to check it out. You would want to check it out because it would be for your own benefit.
If you're someone who's interested in performance or producing consistent results in any area of life, then the Being Profile is something that I would recommend that you look at. What the Being Profile does, it distinguishes what are the various ways of being that you are on a day-to-day basis and how those different ways of being impact the results that you produce.